FCCLA Advisors. I'm an advisor. I've been 15 years. I have currently on the State Executive Council Genevieve Haugen, who's the Vice President of Public Relations. And I absolutely love FCCLA and everything about it and the stuff that we do. FCCLA, I have been a member myself, actually since I was in high school, back when it was called FHA. And I've done this for many, many years, and I absolutely enjoy it. I'm very passionate about it. Our high school is about 400 students, and so it's kind of a smaller school district, but it's very comfortable. I'm a single-person department, so I teach a very traditional program, I guess you could say. And so I do the foods classes. I have 3 levels of that: child development, family relations, which is going to probably turn into a relationships class down the road, fashion construction, interior design. I teach a intro class into the high school level, and then I also teach a 7th grade exploratory, various independent studies, assistant child care teacher. I'm a jack of all trades, I feel like some days. And sometimes I can't hardly keep up with life. But a little about chapter management, programs of work, chapter manuals, and kind of how I've set some things up in my chapter. Now, just because it works in Westby doesn't necessarily it's going to work in every other school district out there. A lot of the things that I have learned how to do over the years, I literally have picked up from other advisors, just by chatting with them and what they do to kind of make their life a little bit easier and streamlined, versus what some others do. There are things that, like membership drives, I don't have to do a membership drive because in our school, being a smaller school, I can physically talk to every kid if I wanted to. But other schools actually have it kind of like a college rush week where they set up tables and they are giving out little promotional things and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of whatever you as an advisor feel super comfortable with in doing. And if you're excited about it, there will be a guaranteed membership increase in your chapter. At first, as an advisor, it's a little overwhelming, but as time goes on, it gets easier and easier. There are rough days and there are great days, and there are stressful days and there are not stressful days. And so you got to kind of take the good with the bad, but at the end of the day, you have to know and understand that FCCLA grows students. It grows their experience. It grows their social and moral development, mental health. I mean, you name it, it works for these kids. And right now, in the time that we are in, my membership this year has gone through the roof. And I think it's because kids are hungry to do things. They want to get out there, they want to do good things, and they want to help people along with themselves. So, as sometimes my thinking process is a little, scattered. So we're a one-to-one Google-based school, first of all. So all of my materials are in the Google Drive system. And I have been using Google for many, many years. I feel very comfortable with it. Every time I get comfortable with a new feature, it changes, but that's life. And so I have to learn a few tricks of the trade. But as a chapter, kind of to give you kind of an overall roll of things, I'm actually showing you in this video. This is under my drive, and then I have an FCCLA folder for my. Another folder in my general FCCLA is for state officer stuff. So I have to keep the two very separate. Otherwise, holy moly, I would be totally confused all the time. So I actually have quite a few individual folders here. And the thing that I like about Google is that every year it keeps things. So on my actual chapter page, I have a folder from the previous last year and the current year open or on in this folder. The rest of the folders, now next year I'll take the 1920 folder. And this folder, computer works, it's a little slow because I live in the middle of nowhere. And so my internet's a little on the slow side. You'll see that I have folders that date back quite a few years. So if I ever have to go back to like a bill that was never paid, or somebody's membership, activities that we've done, I can always go back into this folder and I can see stuff from previous years, and it's there. And I like it because I have gone now away from all of the jump drives and all of that stuff. Remember when we used to carry those in like little zipper pouches because you had jump drives for everything? Now we totally have the cloud, and hopefully the cloud stays floating forever. But other than these two major folders that I'm in most of the time, if not every day, I also have folders for major things that happen. So I do keep, and actually, we'll see how fast this goes here, I've given or has given out over all of the years. This is a godsend to anyone because all I do is take it and I make a copy of it and then I roll it forward to the next year. And so I legitly have a document that tells me who my officers were, who received letters and awards, who actually participated in STAR events at all 3 levels, who my seniors were. And then I also keep a running tally of who my state officers have been and their positions and the years that they have been involved, and then also my national qualifiers. I have not kept tabs on like what events they've qualified in, more or less just who's qualified and what years they've qualified for nationals. Okay? And they're qualifiers. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've actually traveled to nationals and participated, but they've still qualified. So I still give them the recognition of that at all times. The banquet folder, we have a huge banquet at the end of the year that we do a big meal for all of the families. We invite parents and grandmas and grandpas. Well, before COVID, last year it was literally a virtual banquet. But we invite all of those folks. I invite local community people, businesses that have sponsored us. And so it's a pretty big event. And we all get together one night and we have slideshows of different activities we've done. The officers present all of the materials except for a couple of awards that I present, typically to the seniors and the top award winners. Otherwise, the officers present everything. They do all of the programming for it, the setup, the decorating. I even help make the food. And it's a beautiful night. It's usually held in the spring of the year, sometime in April. I usually do April because it keeps it out of May. Well, maybe sometimes first part of May. Just because in Westby we have what is called Sutnamai, and Sutnamai is a huge festival in our town that happens to also fall the weekend before graduation. And our chapter for graduation does a senior picnic on the Friday before. The Wednesday before graduation, we put together bars, cookies, and punch for a senior awards night banquet. And so we've got a lot of stuff going on at the very tail end of May. And so if I can keep it earlier in May when our year is kind of wrapped up and winding down, it makes my life a whole heck of a lot easier and gets some things off my plate. But when we start our year off at our banquet is when we usually install our officer team. And so then they have like that summer to plan. So over the summer, I have what is called a summer officer workshop, and we have a big agenda. I invite them to my house. They come out here to the house, and we literally sit for probably 3/4 of a day planning our program of work for the year. Now, our program of work for the year, and I can share any of these materials with you too. I'm happy to share stuff. My program of work for the year typically is not necessarily individual goals, but it's some things we look at goals first, and then we put the goals in the months, because students are very like, what are we doing in May? What are we doing in June? What are we doing in January? And so I usually have like a template of all the months, and then they fill in stuff for the months as to community service activities, fundraisers, meetings. And so we work through our program of work that way, and then we reflect on it at the end of the day, like, if we do all of these things throughout the year, are we accomplishing the goals that you've established at the very beginning? And if they can answer yes to that, then we put a wrap on the program of work. The program of work is always posted on a bulletin board outside of my room. It's shared in the Google Classroom with our members so they can see kind of where we're going and what our expectations are as well. This is my stuff for the senior week and all of that. And then when I go into the 2021 category here, and sometimes I keep other random stuff just kind of in general outside of the folders as reminders. This is where we're kind of at already this year. So my officers this year, because the theme this year is, I can't even think of the theme right now because it's later at night. Had something to do with, like, they thought it sounded more like rocket ships in space. And I was like, okay. And then they decided that, well, we should do Minions. Like the, I can't even think of the movie right now, but that's okay. So our theme this year is Minion themed. And to the point that our tech ed department actually printed off a giant Minion and is hanging on my bulletin board by my classroom. And the kids think it's funny because they think the Minion actually looks like me. And I'm like the leader of the Minion crew. So we had these flyers put up by our water fountains that says something about want to join our crew. Here's a QR for you. And the QR thing here is actually a direct link to our membership form. And this year, because we're paperless, I did our membership form totally 100% in a Google form. And the nice thing about this is that it automatically collects all of the information for you, for the kids. So from cell phone numbers to birthdays to parent guardian emails to their locker number for locker signs, it's all there. And you can actually save it as an Excel file or a Google Sheets, which is more or less Excel. It will like print it off all for you if you want to in a really nice long template for that. And then from that point, my president has taken all of that information and she has created, which we create every year, a involvement form. And it's a tally sheet. And as you can see, this is really causing me some trouble. It's a tally sheet. And my president this year is just absolutely amazing. Amazing young lady, super organized. She wants to be an elementary teacher, and oh my God, she's going to be amazing. But what she did is she actually took all of the seniors and color-coded them, all of the juniors and color-coded them, and so on. And then we don't have our totals set up here yet because we have to put that in. But anytime the kids attend something, we put check mark or X's by it, which will eventually turn over to actual point values. And then when we do a fundraiser, she slides that in. If we do community service, she'll slide that in. And she color codes all of it. And my, does that help me with organizing things. And it's nice because I usually share this document with our school secretary. So then she's got a list of members for any of like the documents that she needs for DPI as to student involvement and the rosters and all of that. So this was really easy and slick to set up. At first, I had actual tabs down here for each of the grades, and I was like, yeah, no, that's too many things to click on and get confused. So then she's like, well, Mrs. Marks, why don't we just color code them and put them all on the same page? And so that's what we did, and it works fantastic. She has all the meetings put in here, and granted, we have to add some things because this hasn't been updated in probably about a week, actually. Because this week we're doing door decorating for homecoming, and we're doing a pumpkin carving contest. So any of our members that participate in that, from actually doing it to just helping with it, we give them credit for involvement. And so an Excel file or a Google Sheets is a great way to track membership. Plus, this is always saved. So if you ever need documentation about like how many students are involved and how involved were they, I can print this off. Like I have literally sent this to school board members and our superintendent to show them how overly involved our students are in our program. And as of November 4th, if our referendum passes, I am getting a brand new state-of-the-art classroom. And anytime that they've presented anything at any community meeting, they've talked about having the biggest program and the most kids involved, and our school and community need that. And I was just blown away. I had been in tears so many times in the last few weeks over these meetings that I can't believe the utter support that I get from our community, our students, and our school district. And so this is a huge document that I share with them, and I'm proud to share it to show how involved our kids actually are. I share tons of pictures with them. I probably go to a school board meeting about once every 3 months, and present materials and kind of keep them updated on what's happening in our world. Then from that, at the end of the year, I'll show you this one really quick. This is our lettering system. This is, kids can get a Westby FCCLA letter for this, and they become a part of the Letterman Club because of their involvement. Now you'll notice that we have regular points and bonus points. When we first kind of came up with this, and it's no offense to our state officers, but the state officer that I had at the time came up with it, and it was very heavy points in state officer area, people that were attending nationals, national officer candidate, all of that, which yes is a lot of work, but after the fact, the next year, some of the officers worked on revamping this. And they revamped it to be more chapter heavy. And so if kids are participating in things that are happening within our chapter, like maybe they've attended meetings. Attending meetings alone is 4 points, which I think we're bumping that to 5 to make math easy. But fundraising, community service, all have heavier point values than any of this national jazz. They they have clusters on here yet. This needs to be taken out because obviously that's changed. But if they attend regionals and state, they can receive award or points for just being attendance there and competitive events and how well they do with their competitive event. And so it's very chapter heavy. In order for them to receive a letter from our school district, they have to actually complete at least 75% of the possible points from that year. So this year, let's take last year. Last year's point total was a lot less because we didn't have any state competition. We didn't have any state attendance, nothing like that, so points were less. So it's based off of 75% of all possible points in order for them to letter. Which kids do very well, and I've had a lot of kids letter, and they can letter multiple years. The first year they get the Chanel W that has FCCLA actually embroidered into the one arm of the W, and then after that, if they letter a second year, they get a gold FCCLA pin to add to their letter. And so kids really take a lot of pride in that. I've been doing this now for quite a few years. It's school recognized, and it's a great way to recognize students for their involvement throughout the years. So this is something that we have come up with as well over the last couple of years, and they do the officers every summer at our officer retreat. They do go through this and make some tweaks and some changes. And like I said, we've got to take out the cluster stuff. This will be going out to membership probably in the next couple of weeks, so kids can start working towards that. So, other than that, I do share this folder with all of my officers, and so they can get in. My officers have total access to the involvement tally, so that, and I shouldn't say that. They have access to this document. They don't have access to this full folder. And it's so that I can put some stuff in here myself, so that they don't necessarily have to mess with things like the clothing order. I handle that because of the money piece. But our clothing order this year is going to be total Google form. They all get a copy of our code of conduct, and any permission slips and all of that stuff, I have them sign right out of the gate. That is the only thing that I had paper this year was their overall permission slip. I am trying to figure out how I could maybe get a parental digital signature into the Google form thing, but yeah, that's a long way out, so we'll see. These little minion guys, these are our locker signs right now, so I took a little minion and I put an FCCLA logo on his pair of pants in the front, and then there's a pocket right above it, and in the pocket I have a member right now she's writing all of the member names on the pocket. And then she's putting like a piece of paper on the back and all that construction paper. So those will go on lockers for the kids. We do locker signs, the initial one at the beginning of the year. And then we also do a locker sign typically for every like holiday, I guess you could say, that comes up. So like we will be, they're not getting Halloween ones because this kind of works for the Halloween one. But like at Thanksgiving time, I do turkeys. At Christmas time, I do little Christmas trees or little Santa Claus faces. Easter, I give them an Easter egg. St. Patrick's Day, they get clovers. Valentine's, they get hearts. And so by the end of the year, some of the kids that never get a locker sign for athletics, it's like loaded just for FCCLA. And they love it. Absolutely love it. And it gives them recognition. And I have had some kids over the years that have literally joined just because of the locker signs, because they want locker signs. I'm like, okay, whatever trips your trigger, kids. So, beyond that, that's kind of what I have for chapter management. Like I said, I let my officers do quite a few things. Actually, I'll go into my officer. No, I lied. Go into meeting materials. And this is what we do for our meetings. So this was our October meeting. And actually, I should open up the September one too. Because in September, we had, this was our face-to-face meeting. And after the meeting, was done, I had my vice president go through and put these like little text boxes in here with notes as to what happened. And after we did that, I had another student that came up and said, why are you guys doing text boxes off to the side? Why don't you just put it into the speaker notes column and then you can print that with the slideshow? And I was like, no way. So I learned something new there as well. The only thing that I like about the notes off to the side is that I can set it next to the other information that is here, so it kind of helps with making sense of all of it, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. But then every time we have a monthly meeting, we usually do a theme to our slideshow, and our slideshow does have the opening and closing ceremonies, so our president legitly calls the meeting to order. Our members stand. We go through all of that stuff. We do have a secretary's report, typically a finance report. We have officer reports. Then we do some committee reports. And then we go into some old business. And old business is typically usually just a refresher of some things that we discussed at the last one and things that we needed to like wrap up that might be coming up soon. And then we go into new business. And new business is usually where we spend quite a bit of time talking about the different activities. We go through our like set activities. We name our member of the month. And then we open the floor up to other kids and what they want to do, which actually is this, the Westby calendar. We are actually putting out a contest for pictures from Westby students. And it can be pictures of Westby activities, or it could just be photos that they have taken. And we are going to create a calendar, and we'll give them recognition as well. We're creating a calendar, and we're selling the calendar as a fundraiser right before the holidays. And so we had a member bring it up, like legitly brought it up and said that they'd like to maybe do something like that. At first, it happened to be a male member, and he thought that'd be kind of funny to have a sexy football player in it, and I was like, no. And so then it spun into this other really great thing. So we're working on the calendar stuff right now. And so that's kind of our agendas that we usually do for each of our meetings. Like I said, the officers meet about a day or 2 days before, whenever they can, to go through the officer agenda. Or the chapter meeting agenda, and we go through things so they kind of know what stuff is and what we're talking about. And then they run the meeting. I'm just kind of a moderator in the background, making sure that everything's going smoothly and can answer some questions once in a while. We usually build an activity in. The first meeting we had a Kahoot. The meeting that we had for October, we actually had the kids go around and say something that they really enjoy about October, so that it gives them a chance to share about themselves. I'm not sure what we're doing yet for November. Our meetings are typically at the end of the month. It's usually the last Monday of the month, and it's set that way so that we kind of give information for the next month. So it works pretty well for us anyway in Westby, but I am always willing to share way too much information with people. And so if you ever have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. My email is Jennie, JENNIE, .MARX at Westby, WESTB as in boy, Y Norse, NORSE.org. So please feel free to get in touch with me if you want any of the resources or the materials that I shared during this presentation. And otherwise, I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your year and that things go very well for you and that we can get through this really nasty time in our world history. So have a beautiful, beautiful FCCLA year, and hopefully we will see you in April. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.